Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. Today, we're not just scratching the surface. No, we're plunging right into the incredible world of cellular respiration. This is, the fundamental process that powers every single one of your cells. We've been looking closely at an intro to cellular respiration document, and our mission today, pretty simple. Pull out the key bits of knowledge, really get how our bodies turn food into energy, and maybe uncover some surprising things happening inside us constantly. Okay, let's unpack this thing. So what does this all mean for, your daily energy?
Well, what's truly fascinating here isn't just that our cells manage energy, but how they do it. So intricate, so efficient. Cellular respiration, it's not just a process, it's really the foundation of life. It's happening all the time, precisely, on this massive scale inside you. It fuels literally everything you do.
Yeah, that precise, intricate design you mentioned, it really underlines how vital this whole thing is. So let's start with the big question. We eat food, right?
Yeah.
How does that actually become the usable energy our bodies run on? Is it just like, boom, an explosion, or something more controlled?
Oh, definitely controlled. Think controlled dismantling, not explosion. At its heart, cellular respiration is what we call a metabolic pathway. It's designed specifically to break down carbohydrates, things like glucose. Imagine a series of really carefully orchestrated chemical reactions. It's an exergonic process, which basically means high energy stuff like glucose gets broken down into simpler, lower energy molecules. We're talking carbon dioxide, CO2, and water, H2O. And another way to think about it is catabolic, larger glucose molecules getting broken into those smaller bits. But the really amazing part is how cells extract the energy. It's not just burning, it's like precisely releasing energy from each chemical bond, step by step, no chaos, just channeling energy for work. It's molecular engineering at its finest, really.
A controlled demolition. I like that. That really helps picture it. Now, many people have probably heard of the powerhouse of the cell, right? The mitochondrion. We know it's a key player, but what specifically about its structure makes it so good at producing energy? Is it actually like a tiny power plant with different zones?
It absolutely is. That's a great analogy. The mitochondrion's main job, its primary function, is taking that glucose from your food and making energy. Specifically, energy in the form of ATP. ATP, that's adenosine triphosphate. It's like the cell's universal energy money.
The energy currency, right?
Exactly. And its structure is super specific, which is vital for how it works. You've got an outer membrane, kind of like the shell. But then crucially, there's a folded inner membrane. That's called the cristae. Lots of folds. Between those two membranes, there's a gap, the inner membrane space. And then inside, surrounded by those folded cristae, is this fluid-filled area called the matrix.
Okay, so outer membrane, inner folded cristae, space in between, and the matrix inside.
Precisely. And those folds, the cristae, they're not just decorative. They create this enormous surface area. Someone once described it like trying to fit a football field inside a tiny bean. It dramatically increases the working space.
Wow, a football field in a bean. That's quite an image.
Yeah, and that huge surface area is critical because it's where thousands of tiny molecular machines do the energy harvesting work. Having more space means more machines working at once, which really boosts the mitochondrion's power output.
Incredible. So if the mitochondrion is this specialized powerhouse, does everything related to energy happen only there? Or are other parts of the cell involved, like different departments in this factory?
That's a really good question. It's not all in the mitochondria, actually. Cellular respiration happens in two main spots in the cell. Some of the very first steps. They kick off out in the cytoplasm. That's the sort of jelly-like stuff filling the cell. But the main event, the bulk of the energy production happens inside those mitochondria we just talked about. They're perfectly set up for the later, more complex stages.
Right, okay. So it starts outside, then moves into the specialist area. And this kind of brings us to a really crucial factor. Oxygen. We all know we need to breathe it, but how does it actually play into this energy story? Can you maybe give us a real-world example of when our bodies switch energy paths based on oxygen? Because you said ATP production isn't always the same.
Exactly. That's a key distinction. The steps of cellular respiration can be either aerobic.
Meaning with oxygen.
Correct. Aerobic means with oxygen. These processes need oxygen to run efficiently and, importantly, they produce a lot of energy. Then there's anaerobic.
Without oxygen.
Right, without oxygen. These pathways are less efficient in terms of energy yield, but they're super important for quick bursts when oxygen might be low. Think about sprinting, like a 100-meter dash versus maybe running a marathon.
Okay.
When you sprint flat out, your muscles are working incredibly hard, right? They might use up oxygen faster than your bloodstream can deliver it.
Yeah, you feel that burn.
Exactly. That burn is partly lactic acid, a byproduct of your muscles switching to anaerobic pathways to get some ATP quickly, even without enough oxygen. But during a long, steady run, like a marathon, your body relies mostly on aerobic respiration. It's slower to ramp up, but it provides a much larger, steady supply of ATP as long as oxygen is available.
Ah, that makes perfect sense. Sprinting is anaerobic, quick, but limited. Marathon running is aerobic, sustained energy.
Precisely. And this naturally leads to the question, well, when does oxygen actually get involved in this whole sequence?
Okay, yeah, good point. So to really get the whole picture, we need to look at the different stages, right?
Hmm.
You mentioned it's like a sequence, maybe like a three-act play for making energy, different scenes, different locations in the cell.
That's a fantastic way to put it. A three-act play. Perfect. Act 1, glycolysis. This is the opening act. It happens out in the cytoplasm, remember, the jelly part of the cell. And crucially, this stage is anaerobic. It does not need oxygen.
No oxygen for Act 1.
Got it. What happens is basically one molecule of glucose, that's a sugar with 6 carbons, gets split into 2 smaller molecules, each with 3 carbons. It actually costs a tiny bit of energy to start, but it produces a small amount of ATP directly. More importantly, though, it preps those 3 carbon molecules for the next acts, sets the stage.
Okay, so glycolysis starts things off in the cytoplasm, no oxygen needed, splits glucose, makes a little ATP, and creates the molecules for Act 2. What's next?
Fact 2, the Krebs cycle, sometimes called the citric acid cycle. Now we move into the mitochondria, specifically into the matrix, that inner fluid.
Okay, inside the powerhouse now.
Right. And this stage, the Krebs cycle, is aerobic. It requires oxygen to proceed, or at least the whole aerobic process relies on it completing. Here, those 3 carbon molecules from glycolysis get systematically taken apart. Carbon atoms are stripped off and released as CO2. That's part of what you breathe out.
Ah, okay, so the CO2 comes from the Krebs cycle.
Primarily, yes. And while the Krebs cycle makes a little bit more ATP directly, its main job is to harvest high-energy electrons from those molecules. It loads these electrons onto special carrier molecules. Think of them like tiny rechargeable batteries or energy taxis.
Energy taxis, I like that, carrying the high-energy electrons.
Exactly. They pick up the energy payload in the Krebs cycle, and the matrix, that fluid, is packed with the enzymes needed for this cycle. Perfect environment.
Fascinating. So Krebs cycle is in the matrix, needs oxygen nearby, breaks things down further, releases CO2, and loads up those energy taxis.
Yeah.
What's the grand finale, Act 3?
Act 3. The Electron Transport Chain, or ETC. This is the big payoff. This takes place across that folded inner membrane of the mitochondria, the cristae. Remember the football field?
Yeah, the huge surface area.
That's where this happens. The ETC is also aerobic. It absolutely depends on oxygen. Those energy taxes from the Krebs cycle arrive at the cristae and drop off their high-energy electrons. These electrons are then passed along a series of protein complexes embedded in the membrane like a bucket brigade. As the electrons move, energy is released, and it's used to pump protons, hydrogen ions from the matrix into that intermembrane space.
The space between the membrane, so it's building up like a charge.
Exactly. You're creating a steep gradient, like charging a massive battery across that inner membrane. High concentration of protons on one side, low on the other. Then finally, these protons flow back into the matrix through a special enzyme, a molecular turbine, called ATP synthase. And that flow, like water through a dam, drives the production of most of the ATP your body makes. Loads of it.
Wow, so that's the main generator.
That's the main generator. And oxygen. This is where it plays its star role. Oxygen is the final acceptor of those electrons at the very end of the chain. It combines with the electrons and protons to form water, H2O. By taking those electrons, oxygen keeps the whole chain moving, keeps the electrons flowing, keeps the protons pumping, and keeps that ATP cranking out.
So without oxygen, the whole chain backs up, and the big ATP production stops.
Pretty much, yeah. The aerobic part grinds to a halt.
What an incredible process for just one glucose molecule. So let me see if I've got this. Glucose starts in the cytoplasm with glycolysis. No oxygen needed. Its broken down bits go into the mitochondrial matrix for the Krebs cycle. Needs oxygen indirectly, makes CO2, loads energy taxis. Then those taxis go to the inner membrane, the cristae, for the electron transport chain, needs oxygen directly, which uses the electron energy to pump protons and make tons of ATP, releasing water.
You've got it. That's the essence of the journey. It's quite the piece of cellular choreography.
It really is. What an amazing journey. It's genuinely mind-boggling when you think about how much complex, microscopic work is happening constantly just to give us energy. energy for thinking, walking, even just, blinking. So what does this all mean for you listening? It means every single bite of food you take fuels this incredible microscopic factory inside every cell, turning that fuel into the very energy that keeps you alive and doing everything you do.
And if you connect that to the bigger picture, it's just astonishing. Think about the constant, coordinated effort within trillions of cells, transforming something as simple as eating into the fuel for complex thought, movement, everything, and the scale. Consider the sheer volume of ATP molecules your body makes and uses every single second. It's estimated a single human body can cycle through roughly its own body weight in ATP every single day.
Its own weight in ATP.
Every day.
Every day. It's just constantly being made and used, made and used. It really speaks to the incredible efficiency, the nonstop nature, and just the sheer elegance of how life is powered.
That is, wow, that's a perspective shift right there. Astonishing. Thank you so much for walking us through that. And thank you for joining us on this deep dive into cellular respiration. Keep being curious, keep asking questions, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Yeah.